Okay, so now we've installed Active Directory domain services. Let's add another role and see if we can get DHCP in here. And I'm going to tell it to skip this by default. I don't need to see that every time. And let's come up here. We'll see that we have Active Directory is installed and DNS server is installed. Now we want to install DHCP. Next. Next. And that is my address. Next. Let's validate. Valid. And let's change this. It has picked up my loopback address. Since I don't want to give that out as the DNS server address to other machines, let me change the DNS server address to 10.0.2.15, and let's see if it's going to let me do that. Okay, that's what we want. If you leave the loopback address in there, although it'll work for this machine, you're going to run into DNS problems later, because when it gives out an address to another machine, a client on the network, then it will automatically give it the DNS server address as a loopback address, and that machine will try to be using itself as the DNS server, and we all know that's not going to work. So, and we want to add a range of addresses that we're going to give out, and obviously you're going to want it to be on your network. So I'm just going to call this scope 1. The starting address is going to be 10.0.2.100, and the ending address will be 10.0.2.150. Okay, and okay, next. Next, let's validate our IPv6 addresses. Even though we won't be doing anything with that in this class, we're just going to go ahead and validate both. And it says it's not responding, whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and move along. I'm going to use my current credentials and install. All right, installation succeeded, but I don't have automatic updating. You'll see here, automatic updating is not enabled. That's why I'm getting that warning. Okay, now we have some warning here. Let's click on our DHCP server and see what it says. It's giving me some information. Let's read it, and it says it is authorized to start. It is servicing clients now. So we're in good shape, even though we had an error earlier. Let's see what this is about. Apparently it fixed itself, and it's good. Notice the event IDs here. That gives you more information if you wanted to look at your event viewer and look those up. If at any time you are curious or interested, you can do that. All right, so now let's go back to our roles, and we're going to take a screenshot of this for our lab report, because this will show what I have installed. Hold on just a second. Let me get rid of this so that we can see my machine. And I'll want to include the top there. so that we'll see it's my machine. I would know that because I know it's yours, because I would be able to tell, I should be able to tell by the name you've given to your machine. All right, let's bring back up our lab document and paste that image in there. That's all you need for that. Then let's come back to this machine, and everything looks good so far here. What's our next step on our lab? The next thing we're supposed to do is configure networking so that the enterprise and standard VMs have network connectivity, allow network discovery, and the security configuration wizard. All right, let's go ahead and get that done in our domain controller. We're going to come to Start, Administrative Tools, Security Configuration Wizard. Be very careful what you're doing in here because you could mess up your machine. So follow these steps and only these steps. Okay. We are going to be looking for network discovery. Here it is on the second screen. We're going to put a check mark, click Next. Next, 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 give it a name. Next, apply now. Next. And any of those screens that I advance through, if you're wondering what I'm advancing through there, I've read it all, but if you want to read it, just pause the video and read it. You'll be seeing the same screen as you perform these tasks on your virtual machine. I don't think we need a restart following changing a security policy. That really wouldn't make a lot of sense if every time you change the security policy you had to restart your server, because obviously you don't want to be restarting servers on a regular basis in the real world. Okay, and next. Finish. All right. So let's now come back and let's start the standard machine, which is going to be our client. Generally, people will think about a client as a single user operating system, like a Windows 7 or Windows 8 machine in the domain. But it can be a server. A server can also be a client. So let's start our client. It's going to be our standard installation. While this is coming up, I'm going to go ahead and change my network settings to internal. Right control delete. I probably should have done that before I booted it, because it may have already picked up an address. And we are going to ignore this. And let's first open up a command prompt. Now, before we do that, let's change the name of this machine so that we can refer to it by something easier than its current name. See, we don't want to have to refer to the computer by that long name. Let's change the name to Booth Client. I am going to need to restart just like we did on the other machine, so I'll pause the video while we do that. Okay, so I restarted this machine, and let's check to see that the name change took effect. Oh, it did. Here I see right here. It says Boot Client. Okay, so now let's check how we have our addressing configured. And that's what I want. And we notice we're not going to be installing any roles on this server at this time. You're going to have only one domain controller running on the network during this course. All right, so let's see what is our address. ipconfig all, and let's see, we did get an address. If you notice, we got an address from the other server, so DHCP is working. I did not assign an address, you just saw that. You saw that it's dynamically assigned. You see that my gateway is not shown, no big deal. We're on an internal network, but my DNS server and my DHCP server have the correct address, so we're all in good shape. I should be able to ping my server, and I can, so that's good there. So let's see, was there some part of the lab that says they have network connectivity? Yes. Okay, so let's get a snippet of this. Put that in my lab document. And our next step, let's see. All right, we have connectivity. Let's check to make sure we can also ping this machine. So we know we're pinging the server. Let's see if we can also ping our client. And it looks like we're not gonna be able to pay